everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Good evening, Rush Nation. Happy Friday. I'm going to start off with a bit of news. First off, there'll be no flagship show this week. Apologies for that. Stocks has just unfortunately been not well, and it's been a bit difficult with Halloween half term getting someone in to come and do this. So I'm going to tack on to the end of this show some bits to know, some additional facts ready for the week so that we're all primed. So it's kind of going to be a 2-for-1, bit of a bonus for the Bible week 9 part 2. But some really interesting things going forward for your leagues just to prep you for week 9 and beyond. Just some trends that have happened in week 8 that we should be aware of. And then also a big shout out to my buddy Kurt Holiday. A lot of you will know him, especially sort of American side, people playing charity leagues. Kurt got some really bad news this week regarding one of his family members. And just my thoughts and condolences are with him. And he's someone who I've grown to love very much and someone who is a really dear friend of mine. So just want to sort of let him know that he is in my thoughts and I've got a lot of love for him, and I'll be keeping him and his family close in my thoughts this week, and ask for some of you to do the same as well. Won't sort of, and it's sort of personal to a degree, but I just wanted to let him know that I'm thinking of him, and you know, with a platform like this, it felt like a nice way to do it. So I just wanted to start off with that. So we're going to go through. We got the 6 games, the late slate, and then we've got the late slate, and then we've got Sunday night football, Monday night football. So just going to make sure I've got everything pulled up for that. It's been obviously I did say the Jets, I didn't fancy them to win, and they won last night. I mean, I had the ranks. I feel like with the Texans, I ranked them where I did move up at the last minute. CJ Stroud to 23, which is probably going to come out a little high. I probably should have stuck at 27, but sometimes it's good to just sort of have a bit of a refresh. I looked at some of the lower end QBs. I think he'll probably end up around about QB 26. So I probably had it right to start with, and then sort of second guessed myself a little bit there. But you know, I think with these things, I just thought that they might do a little better on the ground. I thought there'd be a little bit of improvement, but you know, it is the way it was. But you know, congrats to the Jets. They did turn it on, and they had a good game, even though Malachi Clawley did drop that touchdown, which I think we're going to remember for a very, very, very long time. Unfortunately for him. But yes, they finally earned their favorites tag in a game and did well. So you know, full credit to them. Let's get these 6 games reviewed. We're going to start with Cardinals versus the Bears. The Cardinals are favorites in this one, over under 44.5, and the Cardinals are just a very strange team to analyze because there's some weeks they look absolutely brilliant and some weeks they just look absolutely awful. And it is really difficult to know which Arizona Cardinals is going to turn up. So it's hard to say it's wrong that they're favorites. I would probably say that the Bears win this, and I go with. I always when I think of like the games, I think what's the best unit out there, and I'd say the Bears defense is the best unit out there. And I would expect them, if they stand up strong, will probably win this game. So that's kind of where I am. But I think the 1.5 line is fair. Over under 44.5, probably about right. It has the capacity to go over with these offenses if they both get rolling and moving. There definitely is that capacity there. But I think really it's probably not a bad line here from Vegas. I would say it's going to be pretty close. If I had to pick a winner, I would probably say the Bears do win this. As I say, I'll go with the D. It's sort of reflected in my ranks. I actually think Caleb Williams can pass on this D against Arizona. And I think the way the nature of the game is, I actually expect there to be quite a bit going on in the air, and I expect Chicago to have to chase a little bit of this game. And then I think they manage it out comfortably towards the end in the fourth quarter. I have Caleb Williams as my quarterback 10 this week. I have Kyler Murray at 15. He has been reasonably disappointing in the box score, but he has been driving his team to victory in games. So I actually think they'll probably be better off running the football reasonably well. So I've got James Conner as my running back 9 this week. And I have Swift down at 18. Still startable, definitely startable, but just one to probably keep an eye on as we go through this. I think there's an opportunity for him, but I think the way I kind of analyze this is I think that the Chiefs will get more, the Bears will get more play through the air here. And I think that they'll probably be chasing the game early. And then I think that just with regards to coming back into this, I think they'll end up doing this sort of in the second half and then comfortably take control in the fourth quarter. That's how I'm sort of ranking this particular game. Moving on to the wide receivers in this game, and I have DJ Moore at 25. He's my leading receiver in this game. Keenan Allen at 36. And then I have Marvin Harrison Jr. at 48. He's got a tough assignment. Not an assignment I feel he's going to be particularly great against, even though he did have a great game last week. And I said this last week, and he ended up proving me wrong. He could prove me wrong 2 weeks in a row, but it's been tough to put up a good week against that Bears secondary at times. So I'm just a bit unsure. I've got Ndunze at 51 and Michael Wilson at 54. So really, I kind of don't see a standout performance here, but I think that the Bears receivers will have a better path to being fantasy relevant, and that's kind of getting reflected through the ranks. I do have Trey McBride at 6 this week, and it's not a knock on him. I just think one, the Bears D is pretty good. 2, I just think there's some better options that I kind of prefer in this one. And I have Cole Kmet down at 16. He's been a bit quiet the last few weeks, but he is the red zone weapon for the Bears. So he's always got that touchdown upside ability. So he's worth playing because of that. He is sort of the red zone guy. I think I talked about the Patreon cost a while ago that there's certain players that just have not a lot of red zone usage, and DJ Moore is kind of one of those because they tend to go to Kmet a bit more in the red zone. I have the Bears DST at 9. I do think that they can get some sway here, and they are a good D to put up some points this week. And then in terms of the kickers, not too keen on starting either of them that highly this week. I have Cairo Santos at 19. He's my higher. Chad Ryland's at 16. He's my highest ranked kicker in this game. But yeah, I'm not desperate to kind of start either of those. Moving on to Eagles Jaguars. Eagles favored by 7.5. Over under 45.5. Jaguars are on a bit of a renaissance, but having said that, they have lost Christian Kirk. It looks like Travis Etienne's a game time decision. Looks like Brian Thomas is a game time decision, and it looks like they're going to struggle with actually getting players out on the field, which is going to hurt them, which is why the Eagles are favored by 7.5. I don't think that would necessarily be the case if everyone was fully healthy and fully firing. But I expect the Eagles to win this comfortably as a result of that. So I have Jalen Hurts at 2, and I have Trevor Lawrence down at 26. I think he's going to struggle with a lack of passing game here in this one. I have Saquon Barkley at 7. It's hard to know what to do with my ranks. At the moment, Etienne is in there at 33, Bigsby at 35. Obviously, if Etienne doesn't play, Bigsby goes up, and he probably becomes a fringe RB2 player in this week. But that's currently where I got them ranked. I think really I'm probably going to revise the ranks going into Sunday, and I'm probably going to have Bigsby go above Etienne, but that's kind of where they stand right now. I think Bigsby will have the larger workload. I think they'll want to manage Etienne, although when I say they manage, it's not like they're really going for a playoff berth. So it's a hard one to kind of call as it stands right now. It's one to keep an eye on over the next 24 hours. AJ Brown is my wide receiver 3. Brian Thomas is currently my wide receiver 11. He will go down in my ranks even with a game time decision, I don't think they're going to utilize him as much as I kind of thought. Devonta Smith is at 23. I'm going to move Gabe Davis. I moved him up this morning. He was sitting around 60 odd. I think he was around about 65, 67, somewhere like that. And I've moved him all the way up to 37. And probably Brian Thomas is going to be sitting in the 40s right now until I kind of know what I'm going to do with him. Because I do think he'll probably be, even if he plays, I think he'll be on some form of like pitch count. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that one. Moving on to the tight ends. Evan Ingram is well placed in here. Evan Ingram is at 5. So he's definitely one to consider. We're still waiting on the health of names just totally escaped me. We're still waiting on Dallas Goedert. I'm still waiting on. I think there's a good chance he does probably potentially play this week. But at the moment, I haven't got him ranked. I'm just sitting here waiting to see what happens. I wouldn't be playing Grant Caltera in any way, shape, or form this week. We've got the Eagles D at 12. I think they are playable. And then I also think you can start Jake Elliott. He is at 12 as well this week. Moving on to Seahawks Rams. This is a close one. They've got the Rams favored by 1. But with Nakua having this knee injury now, it's questionable whether he plays. That will be an interesting development that's only really come up in the last 24 hours. It's something to monitor over the weekend. That would change it. I think if Nakua's out, I'd probably make the Seahawks favorites. Over under 48, I think this is a shootout, especially with the defenses here in this particular game. So one to definitely keep an eye out here. I have Geno Smith as 8. I think they're going to be chasing this game. I have Matt Stafford at 19. I actually probably could make a case to move Stafford up a little bit higher, but it kind of depends on Nakua. I'm just reluctant to move him up from there unless Nakua is playing. Kyren Williams is my RB3. I think he's locked on probably be the RB1 for the rest of the season for me. We're still waiting to see what happens. It looks like Kenneth Walker's going to go, so he's my RB12. Zach Charbonnet's down at RB39. I wouldn't feel a strong need to play him this week at all. As I said, we've got the Nakua injury. If he is good to go and he's off the report, I had him at the start of the week as my RB4, so I will be keeping an eye on that. Cooper Kupp is my RB9. DK Metcalf, who is still on the injury report, is my wide receiver 13. Tyler Lockett's down at 43. Jackson Smith-Njigba is at 65. He has a really, really tough assignment this week, and I don't feel comfortable sticking him up any higher than that. He's only scored over 11.5 fantasy points once all season, so I don't feel good about starting JSN in any of my lineups anytime soon. Noah Fant, I've got a 19. He is also carrying a questionable tag. And I have Colby Parkinson down at 28. He's kind of just dropped off the face of the earth in this passing game. So I'm pretty much out on the tight ends in this game, unless desperate. And I'm pretty much not in on the defensive units either in this game. I'll be fading both. In terms of the Rams at 23, the Seahawks at 20, definitely better options all over the league. So do go and do those. And in terms of the kickers, I mean, I'm never like Jason Myers is playable every week, especially in the shootout sort of format. He's at 13. So I definitely think he's a good option. Josh Carty's at 22. Wouldn't shock me in the shootout scenario if he did finish a little bit higher than that. Packers Lions divisional matchup. Lions, you could argue, one of the best teams in football right now. Packers explosive on offense, need to do a little bit better on defense for me. The Lions are favored by 3 in this one, over under 48. I think the over gets smashed here. I really do believe that. But I do think it's going to be a really cagey game. And so where I've kind of got these quarterbacks, you've got a bit of injury news going on. I think both these quarterbacks are, as much as I think it's going to be high scoring, I think it's going to be mistake driven, especially from the Packers side. And so I'm a little bit worried with this Detroit D. Jordan Love leads the league in interceptions. He is questionable. He's banged up. I do think when he's like that, he's more prone to make mistakes. So I have him all the way down at QB 20. I don't think he's a definite start this week. Jared Goff has been really efficient, has got the highest completion rate of any starting quarterback in football right now. But he's not been show-stopping in the box score. They definitely run in the touchdowns with Gibbs and Montgomery. And so as a result, Jared Goff is my QB 18 this week. I do think it's going to be a tough game for Montgomery. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the bigger carrier of the rock here, but he is my RB 15. David Montgomery down at 24. Both startable, absolutely both startable. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. Josh Jacobs does have a questionable tag, but I do think he'll go. He's my RB 21 this week. So all three running backs in this game are definitely startable. Moving on to the receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown is at 10, Jaden Reed is at 21, Romeo Dobbs is at 28, Christian Watson is at 48. They're the only four receivers I would consider starting here in this one. With no Jameson Williams, who is out suspended, I have Sam Laporta up to 11 in my ranks. He's never going to return the value that you drafted him at this season, but he does hold some value, so he is worth picking up this week. Tucker Kraft is just ahead of him. He's at 10. Both tight ends in this game worth starting. And I'm not too comfortable starting the DSTs here. If I had to pick one, I would start the Lions. They're at 15. The Green Bay Packers are at DST 18 this week. And then the kickers, Jake Bates is at 14 and Brandon McManus at 11. So the kickers are in starter-worthy territory. Moving on to Sunday Night Football, Vikings v Colts. Vikings favored by 5, over under 46.5. I think the over gets hit here, especially with Flacco throwing the ball sort of in desperate chase of the Vikings. Big news is that TJ Hawkinson is going to go this week, so we will see him, which is good news all around. These quarterbacks are pretty close in ranking. I think that the Vikings will win this, but I do think that the decision to move to Joe Flacco for the Colts is a good one. I do think that they'll be more potent on offense, and I do think they'll score points. I think they'll probably get quite a few garbage time points, but I do see Minnesota hanging on and winning this one comfortably. I have Joe Flacco at 13. I have Sam Darnold at 14. It's definitely startable options. They're definitely not going to let you down too much this week. I would say Darnold has very much the safe floor, but I think Flacco definitely has the high ceiling in this one. As for the running backs, I have Aaron Jones at running back 4, Jonathan Taylor at running back 10. They're the two running backs you can start in this one. Probably the big surprise will be one of the running backs I have in my top 11 this week. It's not Justin Jefferson, who's at 2. It's Josh Downs, who's at 11. He put up a top 4 performance last week. He's got a good assignment this week. I really like him to score points this week. I also have Michael Pittman at 18. I think both of these guys can put up points this week. Jordan Addison, he's at 41. He's on a bit of a downward turn. Alec Pierce is at 53. He's a bit of a desperation play, but there is an option there for him. I have TJ Hawkinson at 22. I might move him up a bit now, given that some injuries ahead of him, but I'm not comfortable necessarily throwing him into too many lineups until I kind of get an idea on the volume. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a while before I do that. So just be a bit cautious with throwing TJ Hawkinson in. I don't think we're going to see an immediate tight end, like high tight end performance from him, but then it is the tight end position. Anything is possible, as we saw last weekend on National Tight End Day. I do like the Vikings this week. I do think Flacco and the team will throw some turnovers. So I have and they will get sacked behind that line. The Minnesota Vikings are at 6 in my DST, so they're definitely a start-worthy play. Will Rijkaard is my kicker 4 this week, so he's definitely someone you can start. Matt Gay at 21, can't imagine many people got him on their rosters. Good sort of outside chance that he does something, but one to keep an eye on, but not to start this week. Last one is Chiefs Buccaneers. Chiefs favored by 9, over under 45.5. I don't get the over under necessarily. I know that it's saying that the Chiefs are good defense, but Buccaneers over the last 4 games are the highest scoring team in football. Yes, they're 1-3 in that time, but their defense is garbage, which is the other thing that makes this point. Is I think that their defense is bad, their offense is really good, and so therefore they're in box office primetime shootout games all the time, and this will be a great game to watch. Do I think that the Chiefs will win by 9? No. As much as I think that the Bucks defense is really bad. The Chiefs have struggled to score over 30 points this season. So it's hard to see them. They're going to need to score 30 points if they want to win this game. I think the Buccaneers can get close to 30 points, if not scoring 30 points this week. So I think that the Chiefs, to win by that 9-point margin, they're going to have to score 35-ish, more than 35 points. And so, I think the over gets hit. I think 60 points can be scored. I think it's going to be somewhere like the Chiefs winning it, maybe 32-27, something like that, or 32-28. I can't see, I actually think the Bucks can win this game, and that's probably a fan bias opinion, but I do think that you can attack in the slot. I do think that you can get plays to Cade Otton. I do think there's opportunities for them, but the D will have to show up for them to win this game. Going into this, I have Baker Mayfield as my quarterback 12. He's only finished this low once all season, and that was against the Broncos. So I am giving the DST of Kansas City a little respect here. I actually have Patrick Mahomes at 11. I might actually move these two and swap them, only because Patrick Mahomes has failed to be that high all season. But I do think against that Bucs D, he will score points. Kind of toying with my head, but they're going to be both sort of bottom end RB1. That's kind of where I have them. Kareem Hunt I have at running back 5. The Bucs running defense is not what it used to be, but he does carry a questionable tag, so it's one to keep an eye on. Bucky Irving, he has a questionable tag. He should go, but he's going to be managing a injury for the rest of the season, so one to watch. Rashad White is at 31. Sean Tucker is at 43. So all three of those are going to be sort of viable. But I think if you want the receiving, if I'm in BPR leagues, I'm playing White. If I'm playing standard, I'm playing Bucky Irving. That's kind of how I'm splitting the distinction there. Going on to the receivers in this game, Jalen McMillan is actually my highest placed receiver. He is at 33. Xavier Worthy at 37. Sterling Shepard, who is on the injury report and questionable, but I would expect him to go, is at 38. DeAndre Hopkins is at 45. Trey Palmer, good outside bet. It's a desperation play. If you need a desperation play this week, is at 47. Also, if you want another desperation play, Raheem Jarrett, he is another guy I would be throwing in there. I currently have him hovering around about wide receiver 66, but actually, again, another one that wouldn't shock me that he comes sort of through the ranks and put something up there. So that's one I would probably sort of just in the background, just sort of put a pin in and keep an eye on. As for the tight ends, Cade Otton is my tight end 3 this week. He's usurped by Travis Kelce, who is my tight end 1 this week. A lot of people favoring the Kansas City Chiefs DST because there are turnovers, and Baker is definitely throwing more than a few as he's chasing games. But I do think that the Buccaneers will score points on them, and I think it will be points in yardage might outdo some of the turnovers. And I think as well, it would depend on how many sacks they get. I've got the Kansas City Chiefs DST at 11. Definitely startable, but I definitely don't have them as high as quite a few people do. Harrison Butker is my kicker 5, and Chase McLaughlin is my kicker 8. That's going to do it for all of the reviews of the games. So you've got all of those there. I want to just leave you with a few more sort of thoughts just on what happened sort of in week 8 and some trends to keep an eye on. And these are some things that will help you sort of pick up some potential wins and players to watch for and keep an eye on before we round this out. So probably another 5 or 6 minutes or so. I would start with Jalen Coker. Looking at what's going to happen in Carolina now with the Deontay Johnson trade, the one I'm picking up is Jalen Coker. He's definitely got these high-level plays. He's got really, really good consistency. He's really efficient. For me, he looks like a really, really top player. So for me, I expect him to be the guy that comes out over Xavier Legette as a guy to watch in that Carolina offense. If you're looking to pick someone up, Jalen Coker is probably the guy you want to be targeting as a free waiver wire ad or pre-waiver wire ad this week. So get him onto your rosters now, because if he goes off this week, he'll take some serious bidding. Puka Nacua coming back last week was phenomenal. Yes, we're worried about the injury this week. But 41% targets per route run. He's going to be huge with this usage, and he's the clear option in the first read option in this offense. So one to really keep an eye on. Jonathan Taylor was really, really good last week. 81% snap, so he's looking like he's going to go all the way up now that Flacco is back as well. So really good to see. Cedric Tillman, 159 air yards last week and 9 targets. He seems to be Jameis Winston's key target as it stands. So he's a guy you want to be buying in on. Again, Josh Downs, he is not just the slot guy, but he's actually getting the plays downfield. That's why I've got him where I've got him. He, for me, is the key target in that offense with Joe Flacco. But I do think Petman gets elevated into wide receiver 2 status, which is really good. David Njoku got 7 targets. So for me, he's going to get more and more work with Jameis Winston as QB. Tyron Tracy is beating off Singletary, and so he has that role now. 20 carries last week. He was also, according to Next Gen Stats, 36 yards rushing yards over expected, which is just awesome. Jalen McMillan, talked about why I've got him ranked. He ran 80 routes on 86% of dropbacks, 95 air yards. But I would say that McMillan probably is the guy to have. But I do think Shepard's going to get a lot of work underneath, especially this week. It'll be more matchup dependent than perhaps I expected. Elijah Moore is a good guy to pick up in leagues. 36% targets per route run, which is great. So one to really focus in on. He also had 12 targets, which I loved last week. Really good to watch. Parker Washington's another guy that add 74% routes. And I think with all these injuries, he's a guy in a slot who's going to get some usage. Don't think he's necessarily a must start every week, but I do think he's going to get some play every week. So it's one to definitely keep an eye on for sure. And I think, again, if Brian Thomas doesn't play, Parker Washington will shoot all the way up into my rankings as sort of a flex-worthy play. What I would say is Evan Ingram. One thing I would say is last year when Christian Kirk was out, Evan Ingram's targets went through the roof, and I think that's going to happen again this year. So that's why I have Evan Ingram ranked, but he could be on the way to finishing the season, rest of the season from now to the end as the tight end 1, because he's going to get a huge uptick in targets, which is why I'm sort of slightly hesitant on Washington, but he is someone I would add. We saw Garrett Wilson last night with that unbelievable catch in the end zone. He's actually still getting strong performances, but I do think he wanes out. I would trade him right now because it's only downhill from here. After the last 2 games, had 169 air yards in week 8, a strong performance last night. I'd be shipping him as much as you can. Terry McLaurin is really back, 176 air yards. That's why he is where I've got him ranked this week. As I said in the Bible yesterday. Jaylen Warren is shooting upwards. He is looking stronger and stronger every single week. So definitely keep an eye on him because if he's on your waiver wires, I'll be getting out there as quickly as possible. I talked about Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta had a 33% target share. Difficult because Jared Goff only threw the ball 15 times. But I would say that Sam Laporta's arrow is going up. Maybe it was National Tight End Day. I'm not so sure. What I will say as well, Cade Otton had 10 targets as well, 24% targets per route run. So he's going to see more. So those 2 tight ends are definitely trending in the right direction. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else to kind of note. If you want a really, really, really deep sleeper, Mason Tipton is a guy to look for. Now, he didn't draw many targets, but he did he did run routes on 84% of dropbacks. So I would keep an eye on Mason Tipton because it looks like he's going to be the one who's going to be in that Rashid Shaheed role. And especially with Derek Carr coming back this week, potentially, Mason Tipton, again, could be that desperation play if you're looking for one late on. So that's one I really would be keeping an eye on. I've also put out here a couple of rookies. There's 3 rookies I want to shout out. Kayshon Boutte, 75% routes per dropback, 98 air yards. So he was that downfield receiver with no Polk last week. Interesting. Let's keep an eye on that one. Jermaine Burton, 72 air yards. He looks like he's going to be that deep ball threat for Cincinnati. Be interesting to see how he comes along towards the end of the season. And then Troy Franklin. It looks like he's trending the wrong way. He only ran routes on 38% of dropbacks last week. So it's really, really frustrating because I think he is now at the point where he could be cut in most redraft leagues. I can't see anything really coming out for him this week. Now, one of the things I would say when we're looking at running backs, if you're looking at buy low candidates, the two I would be gearing up for, Kenneth Walker and Javonte Williams. I think both of them have great schedules coming up, both of them getting high value touches, really strong showings in the high value touches. They're two running backs. If you can go and acquire them, they're two I would definitely go and pick up as well. I think that's going to do it. I think that just gives you a few notes and things to keep an eye on. Hopefully that waters the appetite, everything that keeps things appealing and ticking over. If you want any more answers or lineups reviewed, then join the Patreon. I'm happy to do all of that as well. That's patreon.com/5yard rush. You can join for just as little as a couple of bucks a month, and then you can just see what it's about and get my opinion. I have access to me almost 24/7. If you do that, especially if you're in money leagues and you want to use my advice to help you win some money, then I'm here to try and help as much as possible. We really only have 2 months left of the season now, so we're gearing up to the big finish. So to everybody, thank you so much for all the support. Sorry for a bit of the mess this week. I've tried to pump out a good amount of content for you to review. You can also check out my column on Fantasy Pros as well. So appreciate all the support and everything. We wish stocks well. We wish my friend Kurt all the very best as he's going through this really difficult time as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and all the support. Next time I'll talk to you, it will be double digits. It will be week 10 and we'll be ready to go. So good luck this week. We're going much closer to building out our ports, ready for those ships that will be coming in 2 months' time. Until then, Rush Nation, have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget, as always, keep rushing.